thought find that, and every conversation explores beyond of thinking, beyond the obvious. And today I have my special guest. He's a business owner, public speaker, as well as an author to no other than Mr. Bill Derrick.
Hello, hello, Daniel.
Once again, Mr. Bill, thank you so much for being part of one of my podcasts. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I missed?
Well, on the personal side, I've been married now for 45 years uh, and four adult children, seven grandchildren. Um, Passionate about family. Been a leader of our family business for quite some time, second generation leader. And during the pandemic, I took it upon myself, with others' help, to write my first nonfiction book, which was published about a year ago, Restored by the Storm.
Restored by the storm. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Mr. Bill. So let's talk again. You restored by the storm is a beautiful paradox.
Hmm.
Disaster leading to renewal. How do you arrive at this central counterintuitive idea as the heart of the book?
Yeah, a lot of people tell their stories, and there's some great stories out there. And we're interested in good stories, and I believe I have a good one. Um, a lot of people are interested in how they get through these stormy times in their lives. But I wanted to put the importance of my book on what I actually learn from these storms, and what we can learn, actually how we can be better than we were before. Um, so many times, Daniel, people, when they're going through the storm, say, I can't wait to get back to normal. I can't wait for normal life again. And what they don't realize is the transition they're going through during this storm in life is not going to be normal. There's going to be a new normal. And hopefully it'll be for the better. So for me, with the title and the way the book was written, I wanted people to understand that even though we don't like going through storms in life, that in the end, we can truly be restored by those storms.
Yes. We are always have a storm, people, and we need to surpass the storms. What is about a storm, whether literal, professional, or personal, that has unique power to strip away the inessential and renewal what truly matters? Hmm.
Yeah, that's good. I can remember when we were going through the Great Recession, which I describe in my book, and our construction and real estate development company was hit really hard because of borrowing, and the fact that our business was basically, the rug was pulled out from under us, and now all of a sudden the bankers were no longer our partners. They were our borrowers, and they were wondering how they're going to get paid back. We weren't sure, but when one of our bankers pulled out one of our personal guarantees on the mortgage, all of a sudden we realized what was at stake, and that we were facing the possibility that we were going to have uh, things stripped away from us to help pay back these loans. And um, boy, I just had a lot of thoughts go through my mind at that time, and probably most important was what things are really important in our lives, and the stuff. And I'll say it that way, the stuff that we thought was important in our lives really wasn't that important. In fact, it's kind of, you can kind of look at it as excess baggage that we drag around sometimes. And the truly important things like having a roof over our head and our family and being able to take care of our kids and the love we have from family and friends and that and the caring and for each other, those are really the important things as we go through those rough times in life.
Rough time in life, indeed.
Yes.
And Mr. Bill, in our culture, we often see storms purely as a destructive forces to be weathered and move past. How does your book redefine the purpose or role of a crisis?
Um, I will start just by saying that we learn a lot, especially in business. We learn a lot as we're going along and as we're building our businesses and bringing on new people and a team, putting the team together. We learn and we succeed. Um, and then all of a sudden, things don't go the way you had planned. And a storm comes and we face this adversity. And what we find out is we can learn just as much from adversity and these storms in life. We can learn just as much, um, if not more, than during the good times. And that was one of the key takeaways that I had as I experienced these storms in my life.
Mr. Bill, the phrases implies a kind of alchemy. What are the essential ingredients or mindset shift that allow someone to turn trauma into restoration rather than just survival?
Mhm. Yeah, very good. And I will say that survival mode, once you get into that survival mode, it's really hard to get out of it. And once that storm ends, we tend to still stay curled up in that cocoon that we got into during the storm. And we have to learn again to thrive and not just survive. But I think there's a couple of things that I would look at here. And number one is um, I enjoyed being in control of life and truly believe I had control of life. I had control of my business and everything about it. Um, Probably a little bit lack of empathy towards others who would have tough times in business. Because quite frankly, I looked at business as, you have a product or service that people want. You know what your costs are. You sell it for more than your costs. You perform and you collect the money. It's that simple. Um, but the recession taught me something different. That it wasn't as simple as I thought it was, and it also taught me that I was no longer really in control of the success of my business. And it I had to learn some new things, and one of them was grit. Uh, that phrase that gets bantied about, that it's so important though that you must have grit. In other words, just keep going, one step in front of the other. Um, as far as control, I learned that I really have control over two things in my life for sure. And number one is my attitude, and number two is my effort. So during these times, we have to approach it with a great attitude. And if we do, we'll come out of that storm much better than when we went into this storm. If we go into it and navigate through it with a great attitude, um, as well as putting the effort in that we need to put in, and not and do it with an attitude that I'm just not going to quit. And I use that phrase all the time, that quitting is not an option. And those are the type of things, the type of mind shifts that you have to have when you're facing these storms. And I would add that once the storm has passed and life is now different, hopefully better, uh, those that type of thinking will make life better for us going forward.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely. Yeah. So, Mr. Bill, can you walk us through a specific scene or moment in the book that best captures the precise turning point where the destruction ends and the restoration begins?
When we were it kind of first of all, part of being in a storm is and that what makes them so destructive to us personally is while we're in the storm we think it's very easy to think that it'll never end, and that's a depressing thought, and it can weigh heavy on you. And as we were going through this storm, um, we got to the point where we were just squeaking by. And now I'm at that point where I'm going, this isn't any fun. And one day I got a call from another businessman, a friend of mine from the town we're in, and he was just checking in. Again, Daniel, another one of those blessings of where all of a sudden you realize there's people out there that care about you and are pulling for you. And he called me and asked how things were going, and I said, well, you know the difficulty we're going through, and he understood. And I said to him that the hardest thing about what I'm going through right now is that um, I just don't know when it's going to end. I wish I knew, and I didn't know how it was going to end, and I wish I did. And he kind of paused, and he said, "Well, you can determine the ending right now." And I said, "How?" And he said, "Just quit. Give give all the land back to the banks. Let them foreclose on you. Go through the legal ramifications and be done with it. And that'll end it. And you know what the ending will be." And that's when I used the phrase. I I would tell you for the first time, but when I use that phrase, well, quitting's not an option. And he said, well, if that's true and you really believe that, then you need to start putting one foot in front of the other. And don't worry about the past. Just put one foot in front of the other. Um, and it dawned on me at that time that I was maybe too much thinking about that attitude of, oh shoot, this is never going to work. Maybe I should throw in the towel, to a point where I said, no, we're going to get through this. We're not going to quit. Quitting's not an option. Success is somewhere out there. And all I'm going to do is take one step every day, every week, every month, and try to make things better than they are right now. And that was that was truly a turning point uh, in what was going on in our lives. Realizing, accepting where we're at, and now what am I going to do, step by step, and getting through it, because quitting wasn't going to happen. And that was, just kind of the attitude that I took at that time. And it was truly a turning point in my life, in our company's life, and in my story at that time.
Mr. Bill, the book likely explores vulnerability. What was the hardest part of the aftermath to share publicly, and why is it important to include?
Yeah, some people, one of the first things after they read my book is they say, wow, I, I can't believe the way you kind of open things up. I mean, you told stories that, most people won't. Um, I was, you know, I, I realized if the purpose of my book, if the purpose of my story was to um, inspire and bring hope to others, I kind of had to get down into the, down and dirty. This is really what happened. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. These are some of the things that happened that, you know, uh, were hard to tell, but I thought would be better for the story, for the readers, and to inspire those that needed the inspiration. Daniel, there were some difficulties because it's family business, and I'm talking about brothers who are in the business with me. Um, I'm talking about my father who was in the business at that time. That's who we bought the company from. Um, And I struggled a lot with how I was going to say what I said, and sometimes even worried about it. Um, but I said, okay, I'm not out to hurt anybody's feelings. And I think I did a good job at that. Um, but I also took the attitude that this is the story I'm telling. From my perspective, I'm writing the story, and I need to write it this way to have the biggest impact on others that come after me that are reading this book and reading about this story and the lessons that I learned and that they can learn from my story. So, um, being as open and honest as I was difficult for a number of reasons, but in the end, um, I think based on the comments I've received and especially from people who I'm close to in that. It was kind of like, well, mission accomplished. It worked fine, and maybe what's that phrase? Honesty is the best policy. I think I took that in writing this nonfiction.
Yes, definitely, Mr. Bill. And how did your relationship with control, the desire for it, the illusion of it, change from the first page of your story to the last?
Man, it's almost embarrassing to say I was in control until I wasn't,
Mhm.
and um, it's kind of like as leaders, as a business leader, shouldn't we know this stuff, or shouldn't we be prepared for what could happen? But we do our strategic plans, we do our annual planning, our 3-year plans, 10-year plans, and yeah, very seldom in there do we ever say, okay, we better plan in here that there's going to be a recession here, and we're going to lose money for those 2 or 3 years. And I mean, why would you do that? I mean, so as a leader, you just feel like you have control over what's going on. Now, where am I at now? Um, I I don't have the anxiety that I used to have. I don't have the anxiousness about success. Uh, don't get me wrong. I think that for the sake of the business uh, and for our employees and our clients, that success is still important. Um, but I realize I don't have as much control over the things that I thought I had control over. I don't have as much control over that anymore. And some of that I just have to let go and let it happen as it's going to happen. Um, as a Christian businessman, I basically say this is what I can control: effort, attitude, things like that, and the rest I just need to leave up to God. I mean, I hope that next year will be good. I plan on business being good next year, but we, quite frankly, don't know what'll happen for sure, and I'm not going to get all anxious about it. It's I'm kind of content about things, a lot more content than I used to be. Doesn't mean that don't confuse my contentment with the fact that I don't care. I still care, but just, you know, a lot more, a lot less anxious about life and about my business than I used to be.
In God we trust. Well,
Yes.
I like that. Mr. Bill, have faith, and trust in God. Looking
Mhm.
back, is there a part of the old you or the old life that you are grieve losing, even in the midst of restoration?
Ooh,
How do you? Yes.
that I
How?
grieve losing. I, I I'm gonna say that the way I feel now and the fulfillment in life that I feel now, perhaps it has to do with, you know, I won't say necessarily my age. Maybe I'll just say my experience level in life. Um, I will say again, I'm very happy where I'm at, and um, sometimes I am asked if I could go back and do it all over again, what would I do differently? And quite frankly, it's Daniel, it may sound like an easy answer or a trite answer, but I say, well, um, I can't go back and do it over. I mean, that's not possible. I'm just going to take what I learned during that time and use that for going forward and enjoy where I'm at. Um, a lot of people like to sit around and talk about the good old days. Uh, and I, I kind of have come to realize that if I've gone through my good old days, no one told me that I was in my good old days when I went through 'em. So I kind of like to look at life right now that perhaps my good old days are still ahead. And what's to say that they aren't? And that's just kind of the way I feel about that. So I go forward really right now with no regret.
No regret, and we like that, Mr. Bill. We proud of you for giving your knowledge and wisdom through your book, Restored by the Storm. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please to listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too. Comedy 101 in third season, and Math 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101, Love Letters, Movie 101, Review Music 101, our fourth season. Science 101, Sex 101, second season, and my baby podcast, Mental Health, Law 101. Bible Verses 101 and Entrepreneurship 101. And coming this December, Motivational 101. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Mr. Bale, finally, if restored by the storm, has core message or message for the reader's heart, what is the one thing you hope they feel or know when they turn the final page?
You know, no matter the storm is going to end, and we can't be guaranteed of how it's going to end and whether it will end the way you want it to or not. But the point is, it's going to end. And um, I think you just got to live each day on purpose, knowing that we only have one life to make a difference in other people's lives. And no matter what your situation is, you can do that. And don't you want to talk about regret? Don't look. Don't be in a position to look back over your life and think about the things you didn't do. Um, just look forward. Um, I believe very strongly that there's a strong possibility with the right attitude uh, that the best is yet to come.
Yes, indeed. And Mr. Bill, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hoping
Thank
for
you,
more.
Daniel.
Yes,
Thank you.
hoping for more books to come. Yes.
Well, I have a title for another one, and hopefully one day I'll get the motivation and get going on it.
Yes, and one of our viewers now saying that they will buy your book. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your book, your advocacy, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Well, I if they would like to buy my book, it's available in paperback or ebook form. You can go wherever books are sold, uh, Barnes and Noble, Amazon, whatever. If you want more information about me, or even want to go to my website and buy the book, my website is BillDerrick.com. And there'll be more in there about myself and about my speaking that I do, public speaking. And perhaps there's someone listening that's looking for a keynote speaker, something like that. Uh, the information to get a hold of me is there.
Yes.
BillDerrick.com.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Bill Derrick because if you support him for sure, more and more empowering books like this to come. So, Mr. Bill, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel. It was a pleasure.
Monica people, see you soon.